What are we doing? Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling.
All right. I just put my phone. I put my. Hey, just checking in a little quick hello to you. So real quick, just explain. This is a little package that's going to come with the record you just bought. You just got a Vicious Circle record, whatever the fuck that is. I don't even know what that means anymore. But whatever you own now, this is coming with it. So, and I don't want you to sit at home and just go, this guy's a total fucking prick, asshole, piece of human shit. Because why that may be true in some cases, in this case, I'm just explaining to you about this band. And this almost feels like a fucked kind of Spinal Tap video, like I'm sitting there, let me tell you about the tap. You know, I'm telling you about Vicious Circle because it was rough. It almost, to me, seems like a bullshit made up story sometimes. And, but whatever, just go with it and don't fucking, yes, I'll be talking about victims, some victims, and violence and stupidity and stealing and whatever. And I'm not talking about it with a smile. Yes, I am. I am smiling a little bit. But I don't mean to say it with a smile because people got hurt. I'm just trying to share with you and just give you a little chat about what's going on. So real quick, let me tell you about how this even came about. Vicious Circle was very short-lived band. Early Los Angeles band. I think we started around 78 into 79, and basically just a fucking nightmare. Never got a chance to put out a record, only played a few shows, but what that thing spawned, that band spawned, was just a whole bunch of shit. So real quick, let me tell you how we're even sitting here talking about this. Like I said, no records, nothing had ever been done, no recordings except one. My buddy Lester Griffin had a little piece of shit. I don't know if you guys even know what a cassette tape looks like anymore, but a little, do we have one laying around? Maybe we got one laying around. Anyway, a little fucking piece of shit cassette tape, and I think it might have even been somebody else's tape. It might have been a Journey tape for all the fuck I know. And then you poke the holes out in the top and you put the Scotch tape over it, and then you plug it in the ghetto blaster, and then that's how bands used to make recordings. They'd play and you'd stash the ghetto blaster in a room and put a towel over it or whatever the fuck, just go, right? So we got this tape, and Lester was the only one that kept it. And Lester and our other friend Jeff Combs, the two of these guys, they were the only ones. They had this tape. So trying to get it from them, and nobody can find it, and people are on the fucking weed. You know, nobody knows where the tape is. It's lost, blah, blah, blah. So it finally surfaced. Okay, here's the tape. Now, the cool thing is now with technology, I know you bitches are always screaming about technology and CDs and analog, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, great. That's fucking great. However, the cool thing about a lot of this technology is you can take this piece of shit tape that you can barely hear, and then you can fucking CIA the hell out of it, and all of a sudden, you know, start mixing it up and clean it up, and you end up getting something that sounds cool, at least. You know what I mean? At least, maybe not, yes, cool, it is cool, but I'm saying at least enough where you can hear what's going on. So they can actually clean it up, so that's what we did. So that's why we're sitting here, is basically talking about this record that's now coming out. And I don't know, 78, what is that, 88, 98, 108, no, 208, what is it, 208? Wait, however the fuck, 30-something years ago, man. So most of you guys that even getting this weren't even born when this shit was going on. Okay, so let me tell you where we practiced. We practiced in the back of our drummer's house. In the back of Todd's house, there was a granny pad. I don't know if you guys know what a granny pad is, but it's like a room away from the house. So you got the house, and then you got a little backyard, and then you got a room in the back. And I'm not talking, this isn't like some really nice house. It's just a standard 1950s Long Beach track house that has the house in front, there's 2 bedrooms up front, and then you got backyard, and then you got a guest house and a little garage there. And basically, we turned the guest house into the studio. That's what it was called. And you know, graffiti on all the fucking walls, total mess, just a shithole, smelled like rotten carpet. You know, you walk in, it's like moldy, rotten carpet in there, and it was fucking hot, and there's carpet all over the doors, so when you shut it, you can't breathe. It's all fucking stifling. And then graffiti all over the fucking walls. And one of the things of graffiti in there was a spinning wheel, and it had what you were gonna do throughout the day on the wheel. So you'd spin it and it'd say, all right, endless drugs, get fucked up, do a robbery, swim in Jack's mom's pool. You know, whatever it was, you spin it, and that's what told us what the day was. So that's where Vicious Circle practiced. And every once in a while, we'd make a tape. We'd make one of these Ghetto Blaster tapes. You get one of those cassette things, you put it in a Ghetto Blaster, and then everybody tried to see how do you get the best sound. Well, if we put a towel over it, if we cover it with a towel, it sounds good. If you put it back here with these pillows around it, it's good. Hey, if you set it outside of the door of the studio, it gets the best sound. And I think actually in here, you'll hear one of our friends say, "Don't worry about the tape, I got it." You know, so you can hear them talking about the tape. And anyway, so basically it's a practice. We recorded a practice before a show. And so basically that's what you're listening to right now. You're listening to a recorded practice. I don't know, maybe we were trying to see how the songs sound, whatever it was, but Vicious Circle never went in the studio. This is the closest thing to well, we call it the rehearsal place a studio, but this is the closest thing to any recording ever made of this band. It gives me fucking flashbacks, man. I I still got PTSD from this shit. A lot of the shit's going on. I've been to therapy trying to deal with this shit. And I'm fucking 50 years old. I sleep with the light on because I wake up having fucking night terrors from some of the craziness going on. And anyway, so if we're looking, what are the songs are about? I know there's one about, there's a song about, you know, fucking serial killer song. You know, it's a little bit of Charles Manson thing, Charlie's Cot, so they said, carved an X in my head. You know, it's that kind of like heavy, dark shit. There's no God. There's, you know, most of the topics from that time. Hey, there's no God here. There's fucking serial killing. There's fucking rape. There's brutality. There's war. I mean, basically, that record you're holding in your hand is basically commentary on fucking evil, is what it is. It's basically a record of fucking evil. Even the cover song we do, Why Don't You Get Raped? Why Don't You Get Raped? I mean, it's just fucking anger and evil and compact, man. And I'll tell you, that's what that band stood for. That band basically, I think it took the worst of anyone you could find. The worst, there was no honor in it. I mean, yeah, okay, we got honor between each other or whatever, but basically, that was the worst. I mean, it was the worst you can take. I get guys sometimes me and they want to like high five me or say whatever. It's like, dude, hey, I'll high five you for being alive. You know what I mean? I'll fucking give you credit for that, for being alive, for being here. But I'm not gonna fucking be down with you on the shit that went involved on that fucking project, man. The people that got hurt. I mean, I still got, you know, fuck scars all over my knuckles from teeth. I mean, just not fucking bad news. Bad news, you know, stabbings, people getting shot at, just basically a real foul period. Real quick, I'll just give you a quick background on how I even got involved in playing music. A lot of people want to be like badass, like punk guys, like, hey, you know, I'm a punk, look a super punk, check me out, fucking punk. I was not. I've been trying to go straight my whole life. I've been trying to go straight since 3rd grade, man. If I could have been straight, I would have been straight. I didn't want to be punk. I didn't want to be like this. Nobody who's a punk really wants to be a punk. They all try to be straight, and they just fuck up. And that's what was going on with me. I was a fuck up. And I met this chick, and she was a skater chick, and I met her, and she goes, hey, I know these guys that are just like you. You should come meet these guys. And so basically, who I went and met was Todd Barnes, who became the drummer for Vicious Circle. Now, but this is before Vicious Circle. So at the time, Todd and I start playing around, we screw around, we steal a guitar from this chick that introduced us, we say, let's make a band. None of us know what the fuck's going on. We don't know how to make a band. There's way too many strings. I mean, look, this is a little fucking ukulele and there's 4 strings. That's fucking 3 too many as far as I'm concerned. So imagine a guitar with 2 more on here. Now we got 6. So Todd and I just said, fuck it. And we took off the bottom 4 strings and we just left the 2. You know, and we just played songs on the 2, No More Hippies, It's a Whole Bunch of Shit, Long-Haired and Beards That Don't Understand It, Fuck the Neighbors. So it was just shit like that we were doing. So we don't know what's going on. So Todd and I are getting together, and we're playing, and we got the bass drum, the marching drum from the school, and we're stealing shit, and then we start ripping off stuff from band stuff. And I didn't even really care about punk rock so much. I mean, I like fucking Luther Vandross, man. I'm like a soul guy. I like the stylistics and shit like that. This punk rock thing, I wasn't a big fan. But I did enjoy the stealing. That was fun. I liked all the stealing and the craziness that went around it, right? So anyway, so Todd and I have this band, and we call it the SS Cult, and then we call it Johnny Coathanger and the Abortions, and just, just fucked up names, and we do this. Okay. Now, there was 2 crews going on. There was actually 3 crews, if you think about it, at the time. 4 crews, 5, I don't know how many, but to us, there was only a couple crews. There was the Los Angeles Hollywood crew, and those were all dark black. They'd wear a lot of black, man, like a lot of black, sucked up, kind of arty, not as nutty, right? And then you got the beach crew. So, and then a lot of the beach crew at the time was Dayglow. A lot of Dayglow. Everybody wore Dayglow. Real cute looking shit, man. I mean, like, Dayglow orange shirts and pants, and I can't remember. I'm trying to think there was one Vicious Circle song, and it was art students at art parties, Dayglow clothes and tennies, woo! It was like, teasing these guys. So you got the hardcore Hollywood arty crowd, and then you got the beach Dayglow crowd, and then there was us. So we were from the beach, and we're all big fucking idiots. You know what I'm saying? We're big surfer kids, man. And it's like sometimes people gave us shit for being like big surfer kids. What do you want me to do? Apologize for that? Fuck, I was not my own semen. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what to fucking tell you, man. I just came out like this. And so a lot of us were big surfer kids, and then we're wearing black, and besides that, we're a problem. A lot of the early punk rock stuff, you had to be a real, especially where I lived, you had to be really fucked up to like it. And you had to be willing to take a beating or get in a fight or get a lot of shit for being punks. There was a lot of, like now everybody takes it for granted, man. It's so crazy. And I don't want to sound like some fucking old Western guy. I actually wore my little scarf just because I had that kind of vibe this morning. I felt like I'm like an old Western cowboy talking shit about the buffaloes to people that are now driving around in cars. But a lot of it is that kind of trip. Back then, people did not understand punk rock. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. They were afraid of it. They would see us. They heard horror stories. I mean, now you guys take tattoos for granted. Everybody's got a fucking tattoo. But back then, the only people that had tattoos were sailors. You know what I'm saying? There was nobody was wandering around. Sailors and fucked up hippies had tattoos. Like they would have, some of the fucked up hippies that have Zoso written on them, which had something to do with Led Zeppelin or something. Zoso, or on this side, I got the Marlboro Man. And then, or you'd get some chick that would have a wizard holding a crystal ball on her fucking back. Just some fucked up, or a dolphin going through a rainbow. But there weren't like a lot of people with tattoos back then either. So now, come out of the suburbs, Orange County area, you're throwing in the middle of all these straight people, right? All these, and I mean straight. Back then, there wasn't, none of the shit's going on that nowadays. Everyone's talking about gay marriage. There weren't even gays. There weren't allowed to be gays back then. You gotta think about this. People don't realize how much shit's changed, right? There was maybe one gay guy at school, and he was in drama class. People weren't open about their sexuality. I mean, the first time I even found out what a tranny was, I was sleeping with it. I had no fucking idea what was going on when I was a kid, right? So now you take these punks and put them into this area. So now you got these guys with fucking, wearing all black, crazy fucking cut up hair, dyeing their hair. And then there's horror stories in the press about punk rock, and everyone's scared about these kids. This is like when the rock and roll thing happened in the 50s, and they're all worried about the rock and roll thing. Well, this is what happened with punk rock. Same deal. Punk rock comes out, people are fucking panicked. They're writing stories. Oh my God, these people are carving swastikas in old ladies' heads. And not true. Maybe each other we carve some things, but not in other people's heads. I don't know one, and I hung around with a lot of fuck people. I don't know anyone that ever carved a swastika on an old woman's head. Okay, so that's not true. But then they also said that we were robbing churches. Okay, that's true. We were robbing churches. And I don't endorse it in any way, but I'm saying, if you were a young band PA equipment is very expensive. It's very expensive, and the churches have lots of it. They've got a whole bunch. They have microphones. They have good microphones. They have good speakers. They've got it all, man, and they usually leave the door unlocked. They don't anymore. They normally lock the doors. I think sanctuary has been something that's ran out of the church, but at the time, they'd leave the doors unlocked. So it's like, fuck, hey, I got no money. I need a PA, and it's like, really? It's like the church needs it to give that message. You know, it's like, hey, fuck, man, why don't you guys just wave at each other and I'm going to take this shit? So, you know, you go in there and then you apologize to the statues all around when you walk in, and then you just grab what you need. Grab the mics, grab the speakers, and every once in a while there's a church band too, and you'd be surprised. The congregation, they support nice instruments. They love to have that heavenly music played on a real sweet tone. So anyway, so yes, there was some church ripping off, and then there was also some grave robbing. Okay, so what? You know, I mean, who hasn't robbed graves? I mean, you fuckers have been to the King Tut exhibit. You know, it's like, oh, you can go see King Tut, but I can't fucking dig up Mr. Jones? I mean, really, come on, please. I mean, Tut, Jones, I don't know the difference. So maybe there was some grave robbing going on, some desecration, little bit of fun. Okay, that was happening. So also, there's a couple other things I want to address is people that talk about, you know, the swastika wearing and whatever. Look, at the time, it wasn't about, you know, this white thing. It wasn't about Nazis at the time. At the time, putting a swastika on was just to bum out the fucking neighbors. That's all it was. The guys back then, the punks, they didn't believe it. They didn't believe any of that stuff. But if they wear that and they walk downtown, all of a sudden the whole place goes fucking crazy. I remember I showed up, when I was in 12th grade, I showed up for court day. On 12th grade, they do a field trip for court, and I showed up at court day wearing a whole fucking brown suit. I had the whole outfit on. I had boots, knee-high fucking tank commander boots with the jopper pants, armband, swastika armband, the whole rig up. And I went to school to go to court like that. It did not go over well, I can guarantee you. But so none of that stuff, it was all like shock value, crazy, crazy. But the papers were scared. The papers would write this stuff and say, oh my God, these guys are robbing graves, they're robbing churches, they're cutting people up, they're stabbing, they're killing, they're fucking nightmare. Okay. So you can imagine that scared the populace. A lot of people were freaked out about it, you know, and then you got these tough guys, tough kids that were bummed out and they didn't like the punkers. Didn't want anything to do with the punkers. Okay. So there's the climate of what's going on. Down in the beach community, we're down at Huntington Beach, Long Beach, we're down in the beach community, we're in the fucking suburbs, and here you got these kids dressed in black, frightening, fucking listening to this shit, but they aren't little kids. They're big kids. These are big kids. These aren't like small kids. These aren't like skinny little art student kids. These are fucking guys that have grown up surfing, skating. They're in good shape. They'd played sports. You know, these are guys that are fucking not like little guys you're going to push around. These aren't art students up in LA. These are fucked up beach kids that are now totally fucking cut loose and out of control. Okay, here's how Vicious Circle came together. Todd and I were playing in these fucked up bands. We're playing in the SS Coat. We're playing in Johnny Coathanger and the Abortions. And we meet some friends from Huntington Beach. Now, in Huntington, there was the Dayglow crowd, and then you had a darker crowd also with the Slashers, with the Screws. There was a darker crowd, and then you got, you know, like you have the band, The Crowd, and they were Dayglow and cool, and then you got a darker look. Like you got the Slashers, you got these guys. So basically, Todd and I from Long Beach, which kind of brought down the LA thing, the black wearing, scary, grave robbing crap, and we mixed that with the guys from Huntington. And the two guys from Huntington, Steve Houston, who played guitar in a band called The Clan, and his band is actually on the Beach Boulevard record, the first Beach Boulevard record that Posh Boy put out. It's on there. So Steve Houston from The Clan, Mike Terrell, Steve Houston played guitar, Mike Terrell played bass, Todd played drums, and I ended up singing. And basically we formed this band called A Vicious Circle. Okay. So, now, the trouble with this band was is it was a good band. I mean, listen to the record. You're going to dig the record. It's a fucking cool record, man. You're probably already listening to it right now. Maybe you got the record up and you just turn the sound down on me. So fucking sounds off on Jack and you just listen to the record. But I don't blame you. I'd turn the sound off on me too if I could. So, but the music's cool. But the one thing about it is it attracted a bunch of fucking maniacs. Basically, Vicious Circle was a maniac attractor. It was almost like, you know, like Pavlov's dogs? It's like ringing the dinner bell for a bunch of fucking maniacs, basically. Going out in a field, ringing the dinner bell, and all these guys come crawling out of the woodwork, hanging on to fucking chainsaws and knives and shit. It's like, calling the crazies, go surfing. And so basically, the people around VC were a fucking nightmare. They're a nightmare, included here. So, and let me tell you, I'll just run down a couple of the characters for you. Todd, the drummer Todd, we called him the big man, or we called him the farmer. And the reason why we called Todd the farmer is because the next door neighbor next to his house got up at 5 every morning and he'd complain because we'd be practicing in the garage and the guy'd be screaming about waking up. So we'd call him the farmer. Todd was also called the big kid. He was fucked up. He lived with his grandparents in this house, and the grandparents just put up with anything. The grandmother was fucking nuts. She was getting senile. She thought her birds were talking to her, and they're just little birds like this big, right? I'd walk in, she'd go, listen, Jack, listen. He says, Ronald Reagan for president, Ronald Reagan for president. It's just a little fucked up bird, right? And then the grandfather just tried to ignore it and just catered to Todd. They never cooked. Todd ate McDonald's every night. And just fucked up over there. Just the house was fucked up. And that's where we practice. We practice in this place called The Studio in the back of Todd's garage, okay? There was a target. We got on the roof and on the top of the studio building, we drew a big target, you know, for a bomb. It's like fucking hit here. There was a skateboard ramp with 2 huge swastikas on each side of the ramp, and it said Belsengrad Activity Ramp on it. You know, it's just, the whole thing was fucked up. We'd been ripping off graveyards, so there's just tombstones all over the backyard. Just, you know, we'd get tombstones, we'd bring them home, so there's tombstones all over the backyard, and then stolen shit. Part of VC is we'd go around stealing, constantly stealing, breaking into restaurants, breaking into music stores, doing all that stuff. So there'd just be stolen shit all over the fucking place. And Todd's grandfather would come out in the morning and we'd be lining the shit up and taking Polaroid pictures of it and just like inventorying. And Todd's grandfather would go, Todd, where did you get all those things? And Todd just go inside, leave me alone, old man. Just Todd was fucked, right? So, all right, so there's Todd. That's Todd right there. And a great drummer, fun, but he also was a chronic masturbator. Todd would be jerking off all fucking day long. And he didn't even care who knew it. Like you would come to visit Todd and be sitting in his room watching pornos with a fucking industrial-sized jar of Vaseline by the bed, and he'd just be sitting there jerking off like this when you walk in, go grab some goo. Fucking just fucked, man. Just so rough. Didn't care who knew what was going on. Just really, really rough. Anyway, okay. There's Todd. Mike Terrell, surf guy from Huntington. That was the bass player, Laddie, and we called him Laddie. One of the songs on the record is called Laddie's Song. And, you know, just a cool surf guy. Real quiet, man. Real quiet, real cool. You just never knew much about him. No one even knew that much about him. You know, he's just a real quiet, cool surf cat. I couldn't even tell you where he lives now. Disappeared, gone, haven't seen him in years, don't even know. The last time I talked to him, he said, hey, remember when I drove you home from that gig and that guy was trying to kill you? That was the last conversation I had with him. So, and then you got Steve Houston playing guitar. Like I said, Steve Houston came from the Clan. You know, they had that song, Cover Girls, You're Just Another Tuna in a Sea of Cunt, a horny little gash on a penis hunt. That was one of their songs. Steve Houston was like Mr. Cool. That's what we called him, Mr. Cool. He was always real smooth, you know, and he never could be bothered with anything. His favorite word was fuck it. You know, it's like, hey, did you sleep with that chick? No, fuck her. I just got some fucking head. You know, he's just like totally whatever. Mr. Cool, fucking Houston, and then there's me, whatever I am. I don't even know what the fuck I am. Loudmouth, troublemaker that the police love to let go. I guess that's what you'd call me. So Anyway, and then real quick, a couple of the guys that were around Vicious Circle at the time. It was a crew of guys, a crew of fucking idiots. One of them was Pat Brown. A lot of you guys had heard stories about Pat Brown, and he was basically, there's a Vandal song, Pat Brown, he tried to run the cops down, circle massage, got a shotgun barrage. He was an idiot. I don't know what to tell you. Like he's dead, God bless him. Todd's dead, God bless him. You know, I hear Steve's dead. I don't even know if that's true yet, but whatever. Pat was just kind of an idiot. I don't know what to say other than that. When he ran, there was an incident at the Cuckoo's Nest there, and down in Orange County, where Pat ran over a cop with his car. He hit one, and then the other one, the other one fired shots into Pat's car. So he runs a cop over, and they shoot bullets into the back of his car, and then he goes to get away, and then halfway getting away, Pat pulls over and says, I didn't fucking do nothing. What do I care? I just fucked up. That's how this guy was. And just an idiot. He'd come by my house. He'd shoot the windows out at my fucking mom's house. He'd be shooting into the air. Guns. Always had guns on him. And just, you know, just an idiot. Just a really kind of a silly idiot kind of guy. And I'll tell you a funny story at Pat. I got mad at him one time because I was at a party at his house, and I took my car and I drove across the neighbor's lawn and ran over some bikes. It was an accident. But Pat shot at the back of my car with a shotgun while I was leaving, like he tried to shoot at my car, right? So I was a little upset with him. So a couple nights later, Pat and I are on the freeway, and we're racing on the freeway. He's got his car, and I have this car called the Wagon. That's what we called it. It was a Chevy Nova station wagon. It was a light yellow with a big fuck you finger painted on the roof, and it said fuck you sky pigs across the roof. But I had I had an incident where I chased some school kids up onto a lawn with a car, so I had to paint it. There was some problems. And so the car was painted all black. It had skull and crossbones in the windows. It's spray painted black, the whole fucking car, right? And so one night, Pat and I are racing down the street, and we pull off the freeway, and now we're on a city street, and we're racing each other. And we come into a stop sign. It's a four-way stoplight, and we just run the red light because we're racing. But when we run the red light, I shoot over into the other lane. So the center divider's here. So now we're going down the two lanes like a drag strip, which is fucking great and fun, and it's cool when you're a kid. However, there was a police officer sitting right at the light when we blew through. So they came after us right away, and they're on my side. They're gonna get the guy who's going down the wrong side of the road. So they're after me, and I realize I'm fucked, right? And so I pull over, and when I get out, I go, thank you, oh my God, they were shooting at us. And the cop's like, what? And he's got his hand on his gun. I go, they were shooting, thank you. I was trying to get to the donut shop. I was looking for you guys. Oh my God, thank you. And he goes, what happened? I go, him, that car that just left, they were shooting at us at the freeway. He was shooting. So they go, did you get a description? I go, you bet I did. I gave a description of Pat, and the cops took off after him. So anyway, they didn't catch him, but he was just an idiot. He's the kind of guy that would blow up your car for no reason, stick rags in the gas tank, just, hey, we're blowing up cars and whatever the fuck. All right, so, and then there were a couple of other guys surrounding that band at the time. There was a guy, Britt Reeves, and we called Britt the Vespa Stuntman because he was riding his Vespa on the freeway one day, and he went and fell off, you know, he ate shit, he got speed wobbles on the freeway, and he was drinking, and he fucking fell down and just split his head end to end, and his head just cracked open like a melon. And they stapled it all together, but he was, you know, after that, he was like fucked up. And so there was Brett, the Vespa Stuntman. We had Stuart, my buddy Stuart. They called him the mascot at the time, and Stuart's dead too, and Brett's dead. They're both dead. Most of the people involved in all these stories are dead. Pat's dead, Todd's dead, Stuart's dead, Brett's dead. They called Stuart was the mascot because he was like a little fucking kid when we ran into him. He was maybe 14 years old when he was hanging out with Vicious Circle, and you know, had a little leash, and he had a dog collar, and he's fucking just fucked up, man. And so we called him the mascot, Stewie the mascot. And real quick, a little more history of Vicious Circle. The first show we ever played was at the Fleetwood. Now, we'd done some parties and we'd screwed around, But this was the first real show. And I'll tell you how we got this gig. A friend of mine, Peggy, and she's still a friend of mine today, right? A good friend of mine. Peggy was seeing one of the guys in the Middle Class, the band The Middle Class. Great band. I'm sure you guys know Middle Class, Fullerton, fucking great. Anyway, she was seeing one of the guys in the Middle Class. And she was friends of ours. We hung out together, right? So she asked the guys in Middle Class if they could get us on a show with them. So they're like, yeah, we'll get us on the show. So the very first show Vicious Circle played was the Germs, Middle Class, and Vicious Circle. I mean, it's fucking great. I mean, could you imagine like being a kid and that's your first show? I'd never been on stage in front of people. I'd never done any of that crap. It's like we played parties, we fucked off, man. And I was nervous, like, and I remember I went to a medical supply place and bought a straitjacket. And that's what I wore in the first show. I can tell I know what I wore best. I wore a straitjacket and it said reject across it. I got a stencil and wrote reject on the straitjacket, and then leather pants. We all had leather pants. I'll tell you what happened. On one of our mini robberies, we broke into like a bondage shop. We broke into this weird bondage shop, and it was loaded with fucking leather pants, man. Dildos, leather pants, all sorts. So we're like fucking dildo fights and throwing and going crazy, and we snagged just racks of fucking leather pants, killer leather pants. And so a ton of people in Hollywood and all over the place were wearing these leather pants that we stole. We were selling them for like $50 a pair, which is cheap for killer leather pants, man. So I got these leather pants with red electrical tape wrapped around them, and then cowboy boots. Always wore cowboy boots. A lot of early punks wore cowboy boots. Later on, it was like Herman boots or whatever, but a lot of like the early punks fucked cowboy boots, man. I mean, there's something fucked about a grown man who is not a cowboy walking around in cowboy boots, right? It's a real fucked up look, man. And I wore my cowboy boots, but I also always wore spurs with them too. So I had a pair of real sharp spurs that I wore on both of my boots, and because I liked the way they jangled, you know what I mean, when they walked. And then also a scarf around my neck, you know. Anyway, so the first show was at the Fleetwood. And I don't know if a lot of you guys, maybe you heard about the Fleetwood, if you read about it, but it was this club in Redondo Beach. It used to be an old grocery store, I think, or something. And then it just was a fucking bloodbath. It was crazy. You get a bunch of beach kids going down there, and they're all going nuts. And they're fucking fighting, and they're going crazy. And then you got the guys coming to beat up punks. And then they would head down there thinking they're going to kick punk's ass. Here's what's crazy with some of these guys. I don't know where they got this in their head. Maybe they're thinking punk means faggot, sissy, whatever the fuck they think punk means. And then they'd go, let's go beat up some punkers. We're going to kick some punkers' asses now that we're all fucked up. And so they would go, these guys, and they were like gentleman fighters. You know what I mean? These guys were guys that, you know, they get in a fight at the quad at school, and it's two guys socking it out, and then it's over. They go down here thinking there's going to be gentlemen at this club, and it's not. These punks were a bunch of vicious fucking animals, man. It wasn't like, it was real rare you could just get in a fight by yourself. It's like somebody would start fighting, then everybody would fucking jump on. It was like, it would go from fight to instant riot in a second, man. It's like, it was so nuts. And these guys that come down there to beat up the punks, and they just walk in this area, and then end up walking out with no teeth and shit, just letting the shit kicked out of them. And so anyway, that was the clientele at the Fleetwood. And just to give you a quick example of this, I had a buddy of mine who was in and out of prison a lot, and most of the 70s, he was in prison. So he comes out, he goes back to prison in the 60s, and he's in through the 70s. So he comes out, and punk rock's going on. Now, he doesn't know anything about it. Like, punk in jail means you're sucking dick. That's what punk means in jail, right? So this guy comes out, and he says, Jack, what's this? You're involved in punk rock. I don't like this. What's happening here? You know, because he didn't know what it meant. Punk rock, that means we're all fucking, you know, dancing around with wieners in our hands or whatever the fuck. He didn't know. I go, Dave, come down to a show, Dave. I go, come to a show, man. Let me take you to a show. We're playing down in the park today. Come on down and see a show. He's like, oh, I'll go down. I'm not going to have any of that shit going off. I'm like, dude, just come to the show. He goes, all right, let me get the dog. So he got this fucking crazy, gnarly junkyard dog that he's fucking, this fucking crazy pit bull he runs around with. So he's got this fucking pit bull, and he comes to the show, and the dog's growling at me in the fucking car. The dog's already got a problem. And he goes to this show, and Dave sees a bunch of guys in black leather. So he goes, what is it, like a biker party or something? What the fuck's going on? Because he doesn't know. It's like people don't walk around wearing leather, man. You know, this is something else you don't realize. How crazily styles changed. You got hippies, and all of a sudden here guys in black leather fucking running around going crazy, right? He gets out of prison, so he comes to the show. He's standing there with the dog, and he and I are talking. He goes, this looks all right. Doesn't look gay to me. It's all right, man. I know a couple of these bros. You know, it's like, yeah, I told you, man. This is fucking fun. The first band starts, and they start dancing, fucking slamming, and Dave just goes, whoa, 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 what the fuck? And he lets the dog go, because he doesn't know. He'd never seen slam dance. He'd never seen kids like banging into each other. He thought that he had gone to the park and a fight had broken out. Like, he had no idea what the fuck. Like, he's thinking, fuck, I brought him to a gang fight. So he just fucking lets the dog go, and this dog just starts biting the living fuck out of people. But anyway, so, all right, there's that. Back to the Fleetwood. So, you get all these fucking idiot beach kids, criminals, troublemakers, guys that like fighting, and you throw them down in the Fleetwood, and then Vicious Circle comes on, and it just, from the very first song, I remember we start with the James Bond theme. That was, we always opened with it, and everybody's like ready to go, and then it jams with the James Bond theme a little bit, and then boom, it breaks into the first song, and it's basically just fucking melee of craziness. Socking, cutting, box knives, fucking craziness, and basically there's a book, and in the book it says a typical Vicious Circle show would end up with 12 ambulances and 24 stretchers outside. So very, very frightening business. On one of these stories, Vicious Circle, we were at this party in Huntington Beach, and we're all sitting around talking and whatever, and it's, you know, it's just a party at the beach, everyone's getting fucked up, and all of a sudden one of our friends gets hit with a beer bottle in the head, and it basically cut his head open. It was Pat Brown was the one that got hit, and he laughed. He goes, ah, look, I'm bleeding, you know, because he's such a fucking idiot, right? So it turns out these guys came to this party to fight punks. Like I said, it was this group of guys that went around beating up punks. And so they come to this party, but it's like, God, you picked the wrong fucking party, man. I don't know, it's almost like that scene in, God, what's that fucking Robert De Niro movie where it's the boy and the mafia guy and the bikers go into the mafia bar and they want to wreck the bar up?
Bronx Tale.
A Bronx Tale. Yeah, it's okay. It's almost like this scene in the Bronx Tale when the biker guys went into the mafia bar and they wanted to bust a bar up. It's like fucking, then they lock the door on him and the guy goes, sorry, now you can't leave. And it's basically that was the situation. So you got these fucking jock hippie guys coming down to beat up punks, and they come to a party that was loaded with Vicious Circle guys. So basically, they picked the wrong fucking party, man. I don't even know what to tell you. So they come there to hurt people, and then all of a sudden, the tables turned on them. So now they're just getting the living fuck beaten out of them. And this is a beach house. There's no police coming down here. This is the only house in Huntington Beach. It was out on the beach. It was the old head lifeguard's house. So nobody's coming there. There's no police coming. Nobody's calling for help. Nobody's fucking radioing for backup. It's just, you just wandered in to a fucking den of viper motherfuckers. And not just vipers, I'm talking about crazy, fucked up, angry kids. And so it turned into just a beating for these guys. And then they got a couple of them got chased down PCH, and one of them got thrown off the bridge off PCH into some rocks below. And it was just a fuck situation. It was a real fuck situation. And I'll tell you, I know who was on the bridge. I know who was on the bridge there, and a couple of them are dead. And if all these people that said they were on the bridge were actually on the bridge, man, that bridge would have broken and fallen into the fucking ocean. It's just crazy. And anyway, so just a lot of shit. And I'll tell you another funny Pat Brown story. I was at this party, and I'm hanging outside the front of this party, and I'm getting hassled by whatever, some guys showed up, some jock guys showed up, and they start hassling me. They see me, and so it's going to be like a fight or whatever. So somebody goes inside and they say, hey, Jack's in the front getting in a fight. Now, when that person walked in front to say that I was getting in a fight, the police pulled up right then. So the guys that are hassling me, they fucking skulk off, and the police see me, and they come right to me, and they start fucking hassling me. Now, this fucking chick or whoever ran into the house to tell Pat I was getting in a fight with some fucking regular guys. So Pat takes this, I don't know if you've ever seen like those shields, like the knights shield, like it's a shield and they got a sword and a mace, you know, a ball with fucking sharp points on it. They're decorative in the house. Pat ripped the fucking mace off the wall, so he's got this stick with a fucking chain and a fucked ball hanging on the end of it, and he runs out of the house swinging it, going, I'm gonna save you, big man, I got you, big man, because he thinks I'm getting in a fight with some fucking jocks. And all of a sudden, this group of cops look at him, and here's this dude running out of the house swinging this mace, and they just jumped on him and beat the living fuck out of him. I just sat there laughing, watching him take a beating. So anyway, basically, you know, thanks for buying this. I guess thanks for buying it. I don't know what to say. I guess thanks for buying it. Part of your collection, whatever it is, you can sit there. It's like a little history of early Los Angeles, Orange County punk rock. You know, a fucked band before there were a lot of fucked bands. I'm not proud of what Vicious Circle led from. There wasn't a lot of violence in the scene before that band started. After that band, all sorts of violence in the scene. A lot of fucking anger, a lot of hurt, a lot of fucking pain, but it's a piece of history, whatever it is. You're listening to a fucking piece of music, a piece of history that shouldn't even have been here still. You know, if somebody hadn't stashed the tape, if Lester hadn't stashed the tape and held on to it, it wouldn't even have been here. So, you know, I guess enjoy it. I guess enjoy listening to this. If I owe you an amends, if there's some way I've done something to you that I could make up, I've spent the last 23 years of my life cleaning up this shit. Basically, donating time, giving stuff to charity, doing everything I can to fucking pay back for the damage that this band caused. So, you know, you want to get a hold of me, jack@jackgrisham.com. Get a hold of me, man. I'll answer any questions you got, whatever. And I just hope you enjoy this record. And that's it out of me, and have a great day. Bye-bye.